Azure Developer Product Marketing Manager at Microsoft, and I'll be your host today. This session is called Human of IT, Accessibility Tech for All, which will be slightly different to the prior ones you've just watched earlier. I'm very excited today because I'll be introducing you to two special guest speakers, Vincent Lee, who is a team lead for HeartChat, and Benita, who is the founder of Encompass Hong Kong, to share their personal stories on how they're championing tech for social good in their communities. Be ready to be inspired in the next 45 minutes, and stay tuned until the end because we've got a short fireside chat with our special guest speakers to better understand about their perspectives on accessible tech.
Hello everyone, my name is Vincent Lee. So first of all, thank you very much for Microsoft's invitation for me to be here to talk about my story and my startup. So as you can see, my initiative is called HeartChat. So it all begins with a very, very humble and interesting personal story that I have been experiencing. About 10 years back then, when I was in about Form 4, I was actually having my maths lesson. So it was a warm afternoon when I was actually just paying attention in class. All of a sudden, I feel like my heart is pounding, my hands are shaking, and my head, I feel like it's going to explode. I don't know why. I just feel like at that moment, I feel like I really want to get out of that room and to escape everything and just to go home. I told my parents about it. Later, I went to a doctor and I was officially diagnosed with a thing, what they call clinically the general anxiety disorder. So it sounds quite worrying to me. I knew nothing about it. But I've been going through the process of actually taking medicine and going to see traditional counselors. But from a user's perspective, of course it had been very helpful to me, and my counselor has been very, very friendly and supportive. But then I feel like there's been some sort of limitation in the way they actually provide mental health care support to a person like me. So from my experience, I actually has observed a few limitations that the mental health care service in Hong Kong has been experiencing. So first of all, it is very expensive. So I remember I have to pay up to $2,000 per 1 hour session. And when I actually walk into that clinic room, sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about. So because due to the second factor I'm going to talk about is the time insensitivity. It is because whenever I still remember the times when I have panic attack and anxiety attack on the street. I really need immediate professional help. But then, whenever I actually call my doctor, first of all, it's actually not the doctor who's picking up my phone. And secondly, the nurse is actually telling us that I need to schedule a call with my doctor. So during that few days or even weeks of awaiting time for the next appointment, I had to deal with my anxiety attacks, all the thinking traps, all the physical symptoms by myself, which leads to burdens to my family and friends, of course. And finally, when I actually go to the clinic room with the professional counselor, I have already gone through my tough time. So whenever I'm actually in the room, sometimes I actually simply wasted that session because whenever I need the professional service, I'm not with my counselor. And when I need my counselor, when I can actually meet my counselor, my need is no longer there. My most urgent need is no longer there. Therefore, I believe that due to such time in discontinuity and the fact that it's actually very sporadic, we need to bring change to the mental health care service in Hong Kong. So these are the solutions that my team and I have actually come across and have thought of. So to deal with expensiveness, we have to increase its affordability. To deal with its time insensitivity, we need to increase accessibility to enable service to be provided whenever needed. Due to discontinuity and sporadicity, we need to increase the continuity. How do you do that? To make counseling and coaching more responsive and more proactive. To deal with labeling effect, which is a very, very heavy burden for people like us, because whenever we're actually suffering in our mind already, how can we further have the courage to actually step out of our room and actually go to a clinic to tell people that, yes, I have anxiety issue, I am a psychopath, or whatever. So to deal with such, we actually believe we have to increase the security and privacy. And this can be done by online counseling and online professional coaching. So we believe the online, the traditional face-to-face counseling and coaching and the online method are actually not mutually exclusive, but mutually facilitative. So together, online and offline, they can together provide a holistic experience for a user or for a client suffering from mental health issue or disorder or distress, to provide best experience for them, for a more holistic, effective care for them. So this is our mission of HeartChat. We promote and embrace mental diversity to tell the public that actually having mental issue or distress is actually just a very common problem. And how do we do that? We promote individual and corporate well-being through using technology and data to make it more accessible, affordable, effective, and measurable. So we're not talking the talk, but we're actually doing it with data, with evidence. And together, all in all, with the help of professional coaches and counselors, we hope to use the platform to increase the ecosystem of professional counseling and coaching and make it more professional while more accessible to those in need. And by those, I mean not only individuals, but also corporate. So maybe I'll explain more about the reason why we are actually entering into the corporate sector later. So HeartChat is actually Hong Kong's first and largest professional counseling and coaching platform with already more than 25 professional counselors, social workers, clinical clinical psychologists, and coaches. And we are also a provider of measurable, effective employee awareness program that we tailor-made for corporate, for their employees. And currently, we're partnering with different NGOs and different companies, including SENFA, which is an NGO in Hong Kong, Hong Kong Association of Psychology, Holistic Wellness Hong Kong, Growth Wellness, and Aptitude, which will be helping us with developing the app. So this is our competitive edge of HeartChat. We provide a holistic experience for our clients. So we are not only providing the traditional EWP or the EAP for a company, but also within the EWP and EAP, we provide individual online counseling coaching platform for the individual employee. Because sometimes there are certain issues that their employee cannot tell their boss in a collective setting, right? You just can't say to your boss, hey, I hate you. That just doesn't happen, and that just doesn't help you individually and mentally, right? And also, we believe that we can put some add-on value to traditional face-to-face counseling and coaching to make it into a more holistic experience for both individual and corporate as a whole. So this is what we provide for individual and corporate. So now, let me just explain a bit why we actually go into corporate setting. In Hong Kong, corporate is everything, right? Corporate culture is the core of, one of the most influential factors in Hong Kong. So we think like a corporate setting, even though it might be quite detrimental to employees' mental health, but we believe that rather than going against corporate, it is actually a double-edged sword. What do we mean by that? We think that we can actually make use of corporate to make use of the corporate setting and to provide employee awareness program through the corporate setting in order to benefit more and more people in Hong Kong. This is what we believe what you call the inclusive design thinking. Because if we are to influence individual by individual, we have to put our effort 1,000 times to influence 1,000 people. But then, we were to promote mental health diversity through a big corporate, we only need to do it one time, and then we can influence all of its employees in a collective setting, which we believe is way, way more powerful. So what we provide for corporate, first of all, we provide psychological and personality assessment, both before and after our service, because corporate love data, they need to measure their result, their KPI, their ROI, those indexes that they love talking about. We take care of that. So, and this would allow corporate to actually measure how effective our program has been for them. So throughout the session, we would offer professional online counseling and coaching for each and every of the employee. So the employee can actually communicate with their own assigned professional counselor or coach, which our matching specialist would actually match for them. upon understanding their individual circumstances, that they can either communicate with them through unlimited non-real-time communication through text and recordings, or they can, and at the same time, they can actually schedule 40-minute scheduled real-time sessions with their counselors. If they're more brave, they can do it with video call. If they're more concerned about their privacy, they can have a real-time session through text and recordings. Doesn't matter. We make it all about our user experience. So we also offer offline face-to-face professional counseling and coaching to those in need. So when we talk about holistic package for our individuals and corporate, we also make it both offline and online. So this actually shows that online and offline method is not mutually exclusive, but mutually facilitative. And also, we'll also provide offline face-to-face professional counseling and coaching, as we mentioned, and offline and online workshops and online master classes. So we understand that problem solving is very important, but sometimes, apart from problem solving, we have to take precautionary measures or to strengthen someone's mind, even though there isn't any problem at the moment. So we are currently working very hard to design professionally or to design workshops that are professionally designed by accredited clinical psychologists, social workers, coaches, and therapists for different sort of master classes and workshop on mental health, workplace mental stability, and productivity, to make sure that we can provide a whole comprehensive platform or workshop for the employees to actually strengthen the mental well-being, workplace productivity. Also, we provide both offline and online content provision and regular publications for corporate. So these content are ready to be used. So these corporate can use this information and provide these information to the employees under their logo, under their publications, to provide regular knowledge to the employees. We also, at the end of our service, we provide professional performance and productivity assessment through data, through evidence, and through different use of technology. For example, heart math to measure how our service and actually increase their productivity and make them into happier and more content employees. So what is an exciting next step of HeartChat? We are currently developing a mobile and web application for our users, both individual users and corporate users, partnering up with Aptitude, the company that has designed the back-end program for Wilson Parking in Hong Kong. Also, we're developing AI machine learning to replace the screening test, the very initial screening test for individuals and corporates when they start using our service, so that we can tailor-made or to match the best fit counselor and coaches for them. We're also making use of big data, and with the help of Microsoft Azure, we are actually making HeartChat to the next level with the help of data, cloud, data analytics, and to make it into a more effective, smooth experience for our users and for ourselves as well, to make it more effective. So to end my introduction of HeartChat, I would like to tell you guys all to make an observation, let's say. So mental health startup, in my opinion, is the next big thing for the startup sector. Because with data, with technology, with more help from cloud, from different sort of technology, we believe that mental health is becoming more measurable right now. So I still remember that about 80 years ago, when people talk about physical exercise, when you're actually running on the street, people are like, why are you running on the street? Are you being chased by a tiger? So, but then, back then, a lot of scientists came out and say, look, actually running, exercising can be good for people's health. It can be good for them. We can increase their engagement level. It can make them more productive, make them healthier, make them live longer. And throughout the years, people's concept actually changed. And now, whenever we're exercising on the street, people are like, dude, he's doing the right thing. He's taking care of his health. He's taking care of his family. He's making his work more productive. We believe mental health would be the next thing that people are going to use to improve not only individuals' happiness, but also corporate productivity. and corporate's well-being. And together, through the help of corporate, through the individuals' practice of mental happiness and mental well-being, we believe that mental health would be embraced and would be promoted to the world. So thank you very much for your time. This is Vincent from HeartChat.
Thank you for having me, Microsoft, to talk about data and the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm Benita. I'm the founder of Encompass, a social enterprise in Hong Kong. So this is me. I am a big scuba diver, and I'm passionate about a lot of social causes, including disability, human rights, LGBT rights. So I'm involved in a number of things. So today here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sustainable Development Goals. So what actually are the SDGs? The SDGs are developed from the Millennium Development Goals, and in 2015, United Nations realizes 17 goals which related to planet, prosperity, and people are important for us. So they include goals like well-being, education, reduce inequality. So there are 17 goals there and 169 targets. They are set to be achieved in 2030. And so how are we doing in terms of Sustainable Development Goals? So this is a graph of the progress of APEC on Sustainable Development Goals. The middle is average. So you can see actually we have a problem in APEC. For the clean water and sanitation, goal number 6, goal number 8, decent work and economic growth, and goal 12, responsible consumption, we are actually doing worse than before. So what can we all do in terms of helping the Sustainable Development Goals? And that's something me and Encompass want to achieve. And as in Hong Kong, guess how many people in Hong Kong actually know about the SDGs? The figure is surprisingly low. Only 15% of Hong Kong people know about what SDGs are. And if you don't know what are SDGs, how can we do something about it? And here's another graph. How much do Hong Kong people care about SDGs? For the 17 SDGs I mentioned, actually SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, are the SDG that people care less about. And if you think about Hong Kong, in such a consumerism society, everything we do is about consumption, from the food we eat, from the clothes we wear, and everything. And so how can we do this? And how can data help us to improve SDGs? This is something I will explore today. So in Hong Kong, the SDGs are not being explicitly adopted. We have something called the Council of Sustainable Development that's developed back in 2003. They advise a government in a variety of sustainable development ways, mostly on environmental. However, in Hong Kong, we don't have an explicit SDG policy, and that is also not mentioned in the Chief Executive Policy Address. So SDGs are not in the policy agenda, and there are only a very limited number of companies, less than 2%, that are actually committing in fulfilling SDGs. So how can companies do better? There are other gaps in terms of SDG in Hong Kong. For example, there are not enough lobbying on committing to the SDGs. Most of the SDGs are focusing on environment and health, but actually there are other SDGs that are also important. For example, like decent economic growth and sustainable city. So for example, Hong Kong has been lagging behind in smart city if you look at our transport system and open data. And there are very few easy to understand workshop and guidelines for companies to implement SDGs, which is what Encompass is trying to do. So let's look at data, why data is important. Data from satellite data, from new analytical data can help us to achieve better evidence-making, decision-making for SDGs. However, there are risks. For example, privacy issue. For example, that there's a growing inequality. So for the people who own data and for the people who are not. And in poor countries, a lot of this data cannot be measured because they don't have the technique. And in developed countries, some of this data are not openly shared, which we will be discussing right now. So here are some examples of how different data can help the different SDGs. Now look at the recent coronavirus. Actually, big data from Weibo and WeChat has shown us how the virus has been spread. And another example is for SDG 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institution. Actually, the effectiveness of public program can be measured, for example, with data or social media. In Tusnia, in 2015, there's a study using both household survey and social media data to show the effect of corruption. And actually, what they found is both social media and household survey, so there's a 70% negative perception on the corruption. So actually, social media and big data can help us to measure the effectiveness of public program. So another issue is open data. So open data is related to 16.2, 10.2, which is how the public can gain access to information. In Hong Kong, we have a code of access of information. However, last year, in February 2019, there's a consultation on freedom of access of information. Because Hong Kong does not have this act, that means some data cannot be shared. And that has a huge impact of how researchers and citizens can learn about the country. And for example, here are some data that used for open data. So for example, there's an organization called the Global Biodiversity Information Survey. And using this data, they are able to develop research and policy and protecting endangered animals. So data has a lot of power. And in terms of open data, it can help us to foster economic growth and job creation, improve efficiency and effectiveness of public service, increase transparency, accountability, and citizen participation, and facilitating better information sharing with government. And I will share with you an example. For example, in Hong Kong, now the transport data is not open, but the government is pushing. So last year, the government has been saying that real-time data will be provided for parking. So imagine that if you have an app and you go to anywhere in Hong Kong and that tells you where parking is available, how convenient is that? Another example is in Australia, all the transport data is being linked. So no matter whether you are taking the subway or you can take a bus, using one app, you can easily go to different places. Hong Kong, we don't have that. And that is a huge improvement of public service if we have open data like that. Another importance of the data is the open data would help us to measure the SDG. It will help us to define standards, impact assessment, and accountability. Actually, data costs 650 million per year to collect for different SDG data. However, if data is open, we will have much more power to assess the impact of different SDGs. And now I will tell you about Encompass and how Encompass is helping in the different SDGs. We are a social enterprise established in December 2018, and we are structured as a social enterprise, meaning that part of our profit will go to NGO. For example, if we do an event on sustainable coffee, we'll be donating to Humming Fish Foundation, which is helping the farmer in Timor-Leste. So our mission is to help different organizations to achieve SDG, and we do it with data, and I'll show you how. For example, part of our service including training and consultancy, helping companies to help achieve SDG, and also we help them to use SDG as a form of shared value marketing. So we do this through a variety of experiential learning workshops. Each of our workshops is very interactive. And for example, we have anything from sustainable coffee, biodynamic wine to music therapy, which is focusing on wellness, gender, and responsible consumption. We also use the turnkey SDG matrix, which I will explain later, to measure the SDG. We send out survey to help our clients to assess the SDG impact, and we also conduct workshops. For example, last year we conducted a workshop on the freedom of information, which is the open data that I shared with you earlier. So we work with a company called Turnkey, and they are a data matrix app platform. So Encompass was able to work with Turnkey and work out what SDG matrix needs to be measured. And using their platform, we were able to map the 117 SDG goals and the 169 targets to easily measurable KPI that companies can use to track their SDGs. For example, Phone Group, which is one of a few groups in Hong Kong that have a heavy emphasis on SDG, we were able to use Turnkey platform to measure greenhouse gas, waste, water, and that is able to help them to develop better their operation and how they can reduce consumption. This is another example, which is a sanitary paper product company. They were able to use the turnkey data and embed to the ESG data. So the ESG data will have more information on the environmental and social impact. And ultimately, because of that, that helped them with their IPO. So data does have a very strong power. Another example where we use data is we collaborate with iNaturalist, which is an app developed by National Geographic. This app allows you to take a picture of any species, which is maybe a mushroom here, and tell you what exact species are. And why is this powerful? We are able to use the app to track exactly where that picture is taken, when is it being taken, what are the evidence of that animal. And we have been using this app in a variety of our program, including the Hoiha, Muiwo, and Yimtianzai. Using this app, we are able to encourage our participants to keep track of animals they see. We are able to crowdsource identification. So let's say just now the mushroom, you cannot know what it is. Some expert will tell you what it is. We also learn about biodiversity, and we're also able to create useful data. For example, there is a professor in Hong Kong, Youk, that are studying moth. Moth is a very enigmatic species. They are not easy to track. But using the citizen science data, we are able to create a map of moth species in Hong Kong. And we also encourage participants to be a citizen scientist. We are also able to run a BioBlitz. So let's say for Hoiha, we designated one day as a Hoiha excursion day, and we are able to crowdsource data and have a biodiversity competition. So it is a very powerful tool for participants to learn about the environment. So in conclusion, we are able to use a variety of software, such as iNaturalist, to help to contribute to the scientific community, as well as helping citizens to track their data. We empower our participants to be citizen scientists using iNaturalist, and we also suggest our clients, such as the phone group and the sanitary paper company, to use SDG matrix to track their data. Finally, I want to tell everybody that it's important to use the data to process it, to extract value from it, and visualize it and communicate it. So the data itself is only useful when you have using analytics to analyze it, just like the platform we use for Turnkey. So that's all from me, and thank you for having me, Microsoft.
Great, thanks for the sharing, Vincent and Benita. So I think just in case we've got some new viewers online, could you give a short introduction of yourselves again?
Okay, sure. So I'm Vincent, the head of HeartChat. So I've been starting this project due to my personal experience. I used to have general anxiety disorder, and then from a user's perspective, I sort of experienced how limited or the certain drawbacks that the current mental health care system in Hong Kong there is still. So I want to bring some sort of change to the current system. So yeah.
Hello, I'm Benita. I'm the founder of Encompass, a local social enterprise. So I come from an NGO background. I've been working in youth and environmental NGO. So one of my previous experience was in Earthwatch, which we work in citizen science. So I want to use those experience, and now with my social enterprise Encompass, to promote different UN Sustainable Development Goals, especially on responsible consumption and wellness.
Great, thank you. So as you know, our session is all about accessibility tech for all. So I want to ask you both, can I ask what accessible tech means to you?
So to me, it means tech can be used as a tool to provide what we want, that is mental health care service to those in need. So not only those who are aware that they're in need, but to people or to corporate who are not necessarily too aware of the need in mental health service. So we believe we can tackle that through making it more accessible, affordable, and more measurable. Yeah.
For me, accessible tech have two meanings. One is everybody can use it, easy to use at any time, anywhere. So for example, the iNaturalist that we promote is one of it. Another angle for it is, I think, is to helping people with different ability to also have access to the technology. So for example, for Encompass, one of our interns is Josie. She has rare disease and on wheelchair, and because of her limitation, she are not able to use a normal keyboard. But with technology, she's now able to using voice recognition and also a special design keyboard, so she can also help work with me. So I think accessible tech can really empower people and expand their potential.
It's amazing. It's really great that Vincent and Benita are working on businesses that really empower the people in need, but it's really meaningful that SDG, as well as, mental disorder, anxiety, these kind of issues are not something that maybe a lot of people in Hong Kong are well aware of, and it's great that you guys are driving these initiatives. So Vincent, this is a question for you. You've mentioned about tailoring solutions around human wellness through professional coaching and counseling of all ages, and also employee management programs is something that you're specializing in through your business in companies of all sizes. So how exactly are you incorporating inclusive design practices into the core of your development process of your solution?
So we believe that in Hong Kong, so corporate culture is very, very deeply rooted. So we believe, we think that rather than going against it, why don't we actually make use of it? So the gist of inclusive design, we think, is actually to create a win-win situation. So what we're trying to do is to promote mental health to the employees. That's our goal. And in the meantime, we know that their goal is to make more profit, to improve their human resources. So we sort of merge the two goals together and create our data-based, data-driven, evidence-based employee wellness program with the use of technology and the provision of online counseling and coaching applications. So with that, we believe that actually the use of technology and the provision or the promotion of mental health through corporate can actually be something that that can foster our promotion of mental health, but not something that stands in the way.
I want to ask the same question to you, Benita. How are you incorporating inclusive design practices into your business right now and the development of all your SDG initiatives, and what does tech mean to you?
So I mentioned the turnkey platform as a way of measuring the SDG. As I said in my presentation, the Hong Kong awareness of SDG is very low, and people don't know how to measure it. So that's why we are working with Turnkey to develop easy-to-use SDG tracker. Another project I'm working on with a company is to develop a SDG tracker for school children. So they will be able to track the consumption pattern, the energy usage, the wellness, how they're feeling. I think it really create a benchmark and easy to measure. And because SDG looks so abstract, but if you turn it into easyable, digestible matrix that people can measure. So we are looking for a tech solution for, and we will give like a reward system for the young children who are doing this. Yeah.
It's great that they're, sharing. It's great that they're sharing a lot of, best practices and how they're incorporating inclusive design in their business solutions. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy ride for you guys. So I think this kind of leads on to the next question. Any challenges that you encountered, this is for the both of you, when pursuing your journey of seeing beyond the status quo and keep pushing for better solutions for those in need? Were there any challenges you guys faced?
For me, I think it will be changing the mindset, not only individuals, but also corporate. So there's a story I really want to share about. So back then, we were thinking about whether the use of technology or whether the promotion of mental health into corporate sector would be detrimental or would go against our vision or the statement or our statement. Because it has been very, very deeply rooted that corporate and technology is something that, or at least people or the public thinks that they stand in the way of our mental health care. So whenever people talk about technology, people are like, oh, using mobile phone for too long is detrimental for your mental health, give you depression, anxiety, PTSD, etc. With corporate, people are thinking like, oh, in Hong Kong, corporate culture is so bad that you have to work 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day, no sleep during weekend. You have to communicate with your boss even though you're not working in the site. So it is bad for mental health care. We think it is true to a sense, but as I mentioned before, it's a double-edged sword. So why don't we make use of their great influence on people and turn it from something that's bad to mental health to that's something that's good for mental health. So I think in terms of solution, two perspectives. In terms of personal perspective, I'm a layman in technology. I know nothing. So I think Microsoft Learning has helped me a lot because they tailor-made the programs of someone as like a tech dummy like me to provide very accessible knowledge to me. So, well, I know something about app development, not a lot. So the second thing I want to talk about is actually my team. So as I mentioned, I don't know everything, and I'm a layman in technology. So I think it's very important to have a team. They're saying that you can run very fast by yourself, but with a team you can go very far. So currently we're very prestige to have the support of Aptitude, who's actually the mastermind behind all the Wilson parking system in Hong Kong, and also Acro Group, which is a group that provide marketing and corporate solutions to different firms in China, in Australia, and in Taiwan. So with their help, I think we can bring mental health into corporate to the next level.
Awesome.
So for me, I think to convince, first step is to convince people that SDG are important and SDG are measurable, and then you can talk to them how to develop the matrix. In Europe, actually, in Europe, there's a very high percentage, over 70 and 80% of the company are reporting on their SDGs. In Asia, Japan is 40%. In Hong Kong, as I say, is 2%. So we have still a long way to come. So that's why I'm doing a lot of corporate program to raise awareness on the SDG. I think raise awareness is one thing, and then the second is to work with the company and tell them which SDGs to prioritize, because there are 70 SDGs, and obviously you can't do all of them at once. So what we are doing is helping the companies to prioritize the SDG and measuring it. And I'm glad to work with companies like Turnkey. They are very flexible with the solution and to provide different metrics to measure it. But there's still a very long way to go, and that's on a corporate level and on the individual level. And in Hong Kong, we have a specific challenge because the SDG are designed for countries. So Hong Kong is a city of China, and right now there's no measurement of any SDG in Hong Kong, and that's something that me and my partner in Knowledge Dialogue, we are trying to work out later this year to provide a comprehensive estimatory matrix for Hong Kong.
It's great that there's like ways of overcoming those challenges that you guys are facing day in and out. Actually, I just heard from Vincent earlier that you've been using Microsoft Learn to just, to maybe learn more about our technologies and how to implement that to your solutions. Is there something that you could elaborate more on that for our audience?
I think Microsoft Learning is good in a way that it provides all levels of knowledge to someone, to people from all levels of knowledge. So for a layman like me, who have no sort of prior knowledge in technology, they have sort of tailored program for beginners. So for me, at least, Microsoft Learning's role to me is for me to get a broad understanding of what's going on within my company, which I think is very, very important. So I do not have to know every single bit of how to program this, how to program that, but I need to know where technology is actually bringing us to. And this is what Microsoft Learning can do to me. So I'm speaking from a very personal perspective. So I think different users from Microsoft Learning will have different tailor-made experience. So for me, it's all about getting a higher level understanding.
That's great. So you better check out Microsoft Learn later after this session. I think that leads on to our final question as we need to wrap up. To the both of you, what advice would you share from your journey to other like-minded people who are watching right now in the tech community?
I think just to know that resources are actually very, very readily available in the society right now. So starting up a company or starting up a project has never been easier right now. So with all the technology, all the help with data, different apps in the store, in the market, whatever you need it's there. So I think just don't think that even though you do not know anything about technology, you stop pursuing your goal. So technology as a tool is not a barrier to your achievement of your purpose or object. Yeah.
For me, I think it's SDG 17, which is partnership of the goal. So I know there's a lot of tech audience here, and you guys have amazing solution to different problems. But I think it's important to collaborate. So for example, my collaboration with Turnkey, they are really tech platform. They are very good with common matrices, but they might not understand the SDG or the client's needs, or to think outside the tech area what actually the parameters. So I think it's important for different community to interact and brainstorm solutions. So tech is a solution to problem, but tech itself have its limitations. So I think it's to brainstorm the idea. It's really important to sit with different people and discuss those ideas.
That's great. That's a very great key takeaway. And I think for me personally, I think it's all about, working with the community, working with the people. It's all about how you collaborate with different people with different skill sets in order to make a better solution. So with that, thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Benita. Thank you for the great sharing, and I hope you guys enjoyed the session. We hope you enjoyed our unique session. And don't forget to connect with us by following our Facebook and LinkedIn page. If you're an IT pro, developer, or a tech enthusiast, don't forget to join and subscribe to our monthly newsletter. That's it, everyone. Thank you, and see you next time.